You're tuning into Black and White Sports on YouTube. The no-holds-barred truth on sports. The main event starts.
All right, Black and White Sports supporters. Well, I found this article, and I found it very interesting. And although I really like Bobby Burack, I just don't necessarily agree with what it is he's got to say. I think largely the NBA has gotten out of the politics business. All right, you just don't see the virtue signaling you did 3 years ago, really 4 years ago, especially during the Summer of Love. And you also have a lot of, granted, not American-born white players, but you got a lot of white players here. Now, Cooper Flagg is expected to come out in the NBA draft, and Bobby Burack has put it out there that he expects there to be the same kind of racial backlash towards Cooper Flagg as there is towards Caitlin Clark. I don't know that that's going to be the case, and I don't know that I necessarily agree with it. However, I also didn't expect somebody to get stabbed directly in the heart and get $160,000 in donations to try to defend him, the perpetrator, either. We're in a whole different, well, let's put it this way. We've got a supporter of this channel who supports Caitlin Clark, who's a two-time leukemia survivor, and an Angel Reese fan earlier told him, "I wish leukemia would have killed you." I've never seen anything like it, all right? I wish you had not been a two-time survivor of leukemia. And I'm just like, well, I mean, look, that fan base and those activist fans, no doubt, they have fully exposed themselves in the last 6 weeks as being some really vile individuals. All right? We're talking lowest common denominator, scum of the earth kind of people. All right? So I don't know. To be honest with you, I don't think this is going to happen because I believe there's a certain pettiness, jealousy that I don't know that the NBA has got, whereas I do believe it's thick in the WNBA. Also, you got a situation where in the WNBA, it's an activist basketball league. Some people would say, yeah, but they love, Kelsey Plum. They're going to love Paige Beckers. Yeah, because they're willing to virtue signal and activists join the activism crusade just like they are. That's why they have wrapped their loving arms around those white players. Diana Taurasi, well, she's white, but she's lesbian. So she checks a box, a major box. And you're not looking to check those same boxes in the NBA. So I don't know. I mean, Caitlin Clark's a straight white girl. So I think the leagues are different in a lot of aspects. On Saturday night before Duke's improbable last-minute collapse, I predicted that Cooper Flagg would be a pariah in the NBA. I think he should go back for another season, is what I think. I'd like to see him go back, get another year of play under his belt, and then come out. That's my personal opinion on the basketball side. Quote, the current players will not be kind to a player who is white and that good. So that's what Bobby put up, right? Okay, right there. All right. This guy says sounds familiar. Picture of Caitlin Clark, right? So, again, I don't know that I necessarily agree with this. The post was met with immediate backlash when a near even split between users claiming anti-white racism doesn't exist. You got to be shitting me. Yeah, it's all over the place. It's turning into a disease. And that the NBA is not as petty as the WNBA. Now, that's the side I'm probably on. We will ignore the first group. Anyone denying the existence of anti-white racism, especially in sports, is either ignorant or a believer in critical race theory. Bravo. Bobby Burack's 100% right there. So for now, let's address the argument that the NBA won't be as hostile towards Flagg as the WNBA is towards Caitlin Clark. Critics of mine noted that Flagg would be the first white star in the NBA, referencing players like Nikolai Jokic, Luka Doncic, and Dirk Nowitzki. Well, sure, but Clark wasn't the first star with white skin in the WNBA either. What separated Clark from white women before is her star power. Not all stars have star power. Jokic and Doncic, like Kelsey Plum, are great players, but are not mainstream attractions. Well, the big difference is you have had massive transcendent players that have grasped attention of people in the NBA. The WNBA hasn't had that ever. Let's just be real, ever. And they're aware of the ever part, and that's one of the reasons, they hate Caitlin Clark. See, the race bullies in the WNBA aren't jealous of Clark because they thought she was better than them on the court, though she is. They rejected her because she was more famous, inked better shoe deals, and appeared in more commercials than them. They were jealous of her star power. Like Clark, Flagg projects to be a transcendent star at the next level. We'll have to see. Comparisons to Jokic, Doncic, and Nowitzki far apart when you consider the latter three were not born in America. Now, that is the one piece I will acknowledge. It's been a long time since we've had an American-born white superstar in the NBA. Larry Bird. A lot of people thought it was going to be Christian Laettner, and he turned out to just be a solid NBA player. He didn't turn out to be a star. And guess what? Actually, come to think of it, people hated Christian Laettner. Just pointing that out, right? American sports fans are drawn to American-born athletes. They always have been. Jokic is the best player in the NBA for at least 5 seasons. He isn't even in the top 5 biggest attractions in the league. Michael Wilbon talks about Bronny being more discussed than Jokic, which is absurd. Now enter Cooper Flagg, who was born in Maine and plays for the evil emperor known as Duke. Unlike Jokic, he has hops and dunks, the ball with authority. He is also one of the most hyped draft prospects in 20 years. All things considered, Flagg has a chance to be the best American-born white basketball player since Larry Bird. He goes on to talk about the fact that Dennis Rodman, Isaiah Thomas both said the same thing. If Larry Bird if he was black, he'd be just another NBA player. Do we think that's accurate? I mean, I've got Larry top 5 ever, so I just don't know that. All right? And it goes on to talk about male basketball players have been more racially tolerant than females. We reject the hypothesis that male basketball players are more racially tolerant than females. Really? I mean, I know there's been some instances of virtue signaling from the NBA, but it is nearly daily in the WNBA. That's the difference. It's built into their league. Daily, continuous activism. Durant called actor Michael Rappaport a pale, pasty, cum-guzzling bitch. Wow, I missed that. During a feud in 2021, Montrezl Harrell mocked Luka Doncic, calling him a bitch-ass white boy. I remember that. I did a video on it. Current and former players flock to Gilbert Arenas' podcast and spew racial nonsense weekly. LeBron James even accused of owners of sports teams who turn young black men into instant millionaires of having similar mentality to, wait for it, slave masters. That's true. He did say it. And then he goes on to talk about the NBA media, which is, of course, made up of Monica McNutt, Shannon Sharp, Kendrick Perkins, Stephen A. Smith, Nick Wright, Joy Taylor, and Ryan Clark. Yeah, the NBA media is ate up with a bunch of wokesters. No doubt about it. So now, could they open Pandora's box and create a situation where he's a victim or he gets targeted with a bunch of racial hate? Yeah, ESPN could actually turn that thing into a situation. And look, to a certain extent, they've done it with Caitlin Clark too. All right, some of their analysts. But again, look, I keep a pretty good eye on the NBA, especially from a news standpoint, because I'm especially in the last month or so, because I'm kind of testing out more NBA content. And I'm like, I don't see the same activism in that league. I don't. Again, 4 years ago, yeah. 3 years ago, yeah. Today, no. I tend to think the NBA is in a little bit of a different place. But if Cooper comes into the league and all of a sudden there's an explosion of ratings, okay, an explosion of gate attendance, which is revenue, and what people are willing to pay to sell out arenas to watch him play, if some of that kind of stuff, in other words, okay, an ESPN basketball game that would have normally gotten 1.5 million viewers all of a sudden draws a 7 million viewership rating, and then we find out, oh, there's people paying $4,000, $5,000 to watch Cooper Flagg play and get into an arena. If that kind of stuff starts happening, you will start seeing it, all right? Because it'll be jealousy, but it will turn into a racial thing around that. But I think it remains to be seen if he's really going to be that kind of a star, because so many people are just out on the NBA, right? They just won't tune in. Could Cooper Flagg be the kid that tunes us in? Possibly. But I still think the entire WNBA is made up of activist basketball players. All right? And they wear the activism on their sleeve and on social media continuously. And most of these NBA players don't do that. All right? And there's a serious racial component to the old guard of WNBA fans, and you don't have that as much in the NBA. We'll see. We'll have to see how this turns out. I know one thing. It was a disaster for Caitlin Clark, considering all the hate and all that crap that she's had to take. And her fans. All right? And her fans. Even right now, some of the things it's said to people is, I'm like, you understand we're talking about basketball players here. And y'all are wishing death on people. I mean, that's where y'all are at. And I'm like, I don't give a rat's ass about basketball like that. You know, I just don't. And these are people I don't know. So why are you white knighting them to that point? I don't get it. Tell me what you think. Peace. I'm out. Till next time.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tune in next time on Black and White Sports.